Alistair, would you like to do your talk?
Yeah, sure.
Do you need anything or just the microphone?
No, just the mic's good. G'day, I'm Alistair. Half of you know me already. So, hands up who here uses open source software? Yeah. Okay, now, hands up who's contributed to open source software? Actually, a pretty good portion. Okay, one of the BOFs that I'll be running on Friday is basically a sandbox, a safe space for new users to contribute to open source software without being harassed by various community members. So what I'm doing is I'm kicking off a project which has a requirement for a broad range of skill sets, be it hardware design, 3D modelling, or software, so that we can pull in a whole bunch of different community members together. They can all learn how to work with each other and hopefully get some experience contributing to an open source software project without the potential stigma or fear of being lambasted by other people out there. John's smiling, so he clearly knows what I'm talking about. So the BOP's going to be on Friday at lunchtime. I can't remember the room, it's in the wiki. And the project that I'm thinking of, but I am completely open to suggestions, is a autonomous Lego sorter using machine learning. Now, I think this is going to be a really cool project because it's going to involve 3D modelling, some software databases, machine learning, computer vision. It's going to cover a huge range of skill sets. There's going to be probably many hundreds of hours of work involved in getting something really nice going. So if you or any of your friends would like to dip their toes in the water and start working on an open source project from the ground up, come along and we can talk further.
Thanks, Alistair. So are you going to donate your Millennium Falcon as the raw parts to feed through the machine?
I actually have 2 fake ones that are not built, so we already know what all the parts are, so we'll actually use it for training.
Oh, yes. Okay. Got a known set. Would anybody else like to give a lightning talk? Yes, come on down.
Slides.
You have slides, okay. We have
How long
video.
do I have?
How long do you need?
5 minutes, probably.
Perfect. You have 5 minutes.
Great.
Starting.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is a talk I've given a little bit before at this conference, but since you're all hardware people, I thought it would still be good to give it again. So I did this project called Tomu a while ago. It's basically one of my many projects. The great thing about it is kind of a smaller project. It took me most of a weekend to do the original design. And the reason it was cool is because it replaces this proprietary device called a YubiKey Nano while still being cheaper and more accessible. It has a little ARM microprocessor in it. If you were here last year, you would have got one in your swag bag. I still have more. So if you didn't get one last year, come talk to me. the general policy is if you contribute to my project in some way, I will give you one. They're pretty cheap. This ARM microcontroller is like $2 on DigiKey in individual quantities and drops to under $1 if you're buying 1,000 of them. And that's what we use on the original Tomu. And that's kind of what the schematic looks like. Pretty simple. It's all open source, and it works. So that was cool, and a project that I kind of didn't expect to be as successful as it is. The problem was I wanted people to write software for it, but I didn't have the time to do the software myself. And so I made it open source, and I gave out lots of them, and people wrote software for them. And so that was pretty cool. And they kept getting asked for them. And so I was after a smaller project, not distributing Tomus to thousands of people around the world. Crowdfunding is definitely not a small project for anybody who's interested in it. So I found somebody who could partner with me to release the Tomu, and now there's thousands and thousands of Tomus around out there. But I like FPGAs. And so I decided that maybe we should do the same thing with the ARM microcontroller that we did with FPGA. And so this is the FOMU, or FPGA Tomu. It's currently crowdfunding. I don't make any money from it. Zobs is the finance production person. I just want to see this exist. It's got an ICE40 UP5K FPGA, which is a fairly small FPGA, but it's reasonably cheap, and it's actually really physically small, so we can fit it inside your USB port. It has 128 kilobytes of RAM and 1 megabyte worth of flash, 1 RGB LED, and a bunch of touch buttons. It was designed in collaboration with these two people, and so you can kind of see the FPGA Tomu is pretty much the same size as the original Tomu. In fact, we're reusing the same plastic case. It works. It's got an RGB LED. But I understand that not everyone here is an FPGA expert. So what does 5K LUTs get you? You can do a RISC-V CPU in under 3,000 LUTs, and then when you add the USB core, it gets up to about 3,500 LUTs. So about 70% of the FPGA is used to do a RISC-V CPU. And so we're going to distribute them preloaded with a RISC-V CPU. So if you don't care about FPGAs, but you want to play with RISC-V, this could be treated as a RISC-V in your USB port. That was an old slide. The other thing is this FPGA has a fully open source toolchain, so you don't need to download 40 gigabytes of random stuff you're never going to use. It's supported by the LiteX build environment, and the cool thing about that is that it means that it has MicroPython support. You can run MicroPython on RISC-V on your FPGA, so that's pretty cool. And so that's the Tomu FPGA. This is what 48 Tomu FPGAs looks like. I sent an email to the chat list about how you can get one. Again, my general policy is if you contribute to the project in some way, whether that's helping people on IRC, writing documentation, writing blog posts about this cool project, doing code, any type of pull request, I will give you some. The one caveat is the bootloader is still a work in progress. We're eventually going to, who here has used an Adafruit CircuitPython board with the UF2 protocol? It just appears as a mass storage device, and you drop the file onto it. You don't need a driver. You don't need any of that complicated thing. That's still a work in progress. So if you want to help out with that, I would happily give you Tomus to help out with that. We're hoping by the next day or two it will be working. So yeah, if you have a hackerspace that you're involved in, I will probably give you a bunch to get to people in the hackerspace and things like that. I also have bigger FPGAs, but they're more restrictive in because they cost a couple $100 each. I'm not just going to randomly give them out. But if you contribute to my other projects, I will give you a $150 FPGA board. I have lots more money than time, and so this is a solution to that. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Now, do we have any more lightning talks? Yes, Thomas. Okay. Sorry, you'd like to... Say it more loudly. And if anybody is looking for employment, there is also a jobs BOF, I think, later in the week, so it's worth going to check that out. Okay, no more lightning talks? All right, I think it's about time to wrap up. Andy, did you want to say anything in particular, or? Yeah, good night. Good night.